Well, we let that all dry at the top while it's drying. Let's go back and put a wash on our branch. So I'll need to go back and get some brown and make it a rich brown, and we'll wash it through right over the top of everything. And maybe add some dark color too. I do have some more brown made up, and I've added more of our French ultramarine to kind of darken it again. Just, do what we did before, add a little bit more of a shade in the bottom. And I think we are ready. Clean my brushes. And pick up some paint. That should work. Now this is just a wash over everything, as we did before. So I'll start here. And I don't want to spend too much time here. I want to keep this moving, keep the puddle moving. There we go. Then I'll do what I did before, grab my number 2 brush, go back and, or number 6, where's it at? I'll use the 2. We'll make it work. Pick up some of that dark that we made and drop it in once more. Just in some spots, mostly under there. Spread it out and make sure that it flows well. I'll drop this in around it. That should help it flow. Come on. We'll continue our wash across. And this kind of just evens everything out. I do want to go around his toes this time, not go through them. Get a little more. So this is kind of a dark wash. I got a puddle. I should probably finish this side by dropping some darker in on the bottom edge. Go between his toes. All right. And we'll drop some in. I trust it's still wet behind us. Well, it didn't get to the edge, did it? And underneath where he's at, so the bottom of the limb needs to be dark, but also where he's at, this needs to be dark, because that's his shadow. That's not wet, is it? It's wet now. All right, so we'll put that in, and that'll kind of work itself around, and we'll continue with our wash. We'll kind of touch it up here at the end, and we'll be done with this part. Well, that's staying wet, which is good. I'm getting off the screen, which happens, doesn't it? So this gives a more uniform look. Now the camera doesn't show it to be as red as what I'm actually painting it. So if yours is a little redder, then that's okay. That's expected. So we'll put some under here, and just kind of fill in where it seems like it ought to be. And that's probably dry over there. I'm going to leave that alone. Okay, and we'll touch up between his toes, then we'll try to let this dry. That big brush was just too much. I think I just went out on the paper again. So we'll try to soak it all up, and we'll go back and fill in where it's supposed to be, knowing that this could flow, if it's too wet, out onto that spot. Soften that edge. So I'm trying to be careful not to let it jump the line. There. Yeah. This needs to be blended just a little more, or softened, I should say. Just a little more. It's just too much dark pigment down there. And that just removed a lot. Well, we'll make it work. I probably softened this a lot there. Well, let's take a look. How does he look? Yeah, it took too much away. And it's a good thing trees and such are so irregular in their pattern. It lets us get away with some of this. I don't get too carried away pushing this up into the bird. That's supposed to be a darker black. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm filling in the wash and carefully adding just enough to finish this side to make it match the other. When those went in on this end, it was a little dry, so it made it bumpy. All right. Okay. We're going to let that dry, and when we come back, we will work on the top of our bird. Well, I think we're getting close to our final stretch. The next part of the bird is going to be to finish the beak and then add our black to the cap, or his head, and his throat. So I'm going to continue with my number 2 brush and some black paint that's mixed up. Now let's take a look. It does take a lot longer to mix paint with a number 2 brush, so I'm just going to set it aside, get my number 8. And so we want this to be now black, not just gray, but black. And one way to make it black is to, well, just have more pigment. So we'll start with our blues. We'll probably end up using, well, I know we'll end up using both blues. So I'll add some more of this. Doesn't take much. And we'll go in and get into our warm red. I'm just going to bring it over. There we go. And mix that in. Well, it's starting to look black. And let's add some French ultramarine. Water, soften that up. And bring that into the mix. Pardon the pun. Well, that's looking blacker. It does have a slight blue tint to it. So it's not bad though. Let's go get a little more red. That should take that blue tint out. Just a little more red. Same too. So again, what I'm watching for is that thin film that's left behind. If it's a gray, then I know it's as black as it can be. Now when I apply it, well, not thick, but I apply it as black. So I don't think I need to mix it up anymore. I'll clean my number 8 brush. Don't want to set it down with paint on it. Okay, and back to our number 2. And we'll continue painting with this. So, well, let's take a look at this photo again. He's got some feathers going up and all the way back, and his texture's a lot finer than mine. I guess I can do that. So we'll just do that. So his feathers go in that direction, which means they go from this direction to out that way. And I don't know how those first ones got wrong. So I'm going to do what I did before, which is kind of go around, do the outside edges first. And we need to do the beak as well. This is a little more solid here. Okay, so we need to have control for this as well. I'm going to actually dip into a little more water just on the side, make my gray or my black just a little bit gray. I'm a little concerned about that top part. What I'm going to do is just do a wash all the way across the beak of this gray. So I'll lay it in the top, and I'll go right over that line and on the bottom. Pull it out to a point, and that might be just a little too dark. I didn't have enough water. What I want to do is leave that line just a light gray, and that actually looks okay. So back into the black. We'll continue to paint. So I'm trying to put the reference photo in front of me, mostly just to make sure I get the right direction for these feathers. And if I take my time here, and frankly, with this exercise, I did try to hurry because, as you already know, there's quite a few minutes on this already. I do want to bring it right up to the eye and just leave a little bit of an edge between them. We are going to redo the eye once more too, especially the bottom with this black, but not right now. So we'll bring this across. So in putting this on, we're actually putting black on black or black on dark gray, and as we do it, if we in our strokes miss a stroke, then the gray that's underneath will already be in the pattern. I'll go right around that eye. Oh, that's a nice line. Okay, and then the pattern that's underneath will just contribute to the effect that you're after with this. So, and then as we paint this, I wonder, I'm just going to bring it or go down to this side, this end. I know where the feathers go, and I'm just going to build them from this end up, because if I think about it, the feathers are going in this direction, and what's left that we get to see are the tips of the feathers, and they actually come up from here, don't they? They come out, these feathers, and what's left is the tips. So why not do them in the direction? I just have to be careful that I don't make, bands of feathers that look like, well, a bad haircut. You guys know what that's like. So I think I like that better, going in this direction. And some of the feathers are coming down now. As I look at them, I can look closer and see them. They come down in this direction. And I'll put a few out there because they are out there. In other words, the tips of the feathers, just little bits of indication that they're there. And then if we had some white that was up in there, that would be nice, but we don't. And it comes right up under the eye. So kind of reinforce that. Back into our black. So I think I like that better, and I have a reason for it. In other words, this tells a story of, you know, his feathers go from the back to the front, and we see the tips from underneath. Seems like it should be darker, so we may have to do this once more. And now his throat. So the feathers, they actually grow down. They grow down and out. He does have his heads turned, and so they'll come down in this direction. Some of them will hang down, but they're kind of well embedded, so it's not like it's not as exaggerated as the white coming into the black right here. So let's do that underside, and we'll do the bottom of the bill. Let's do that next. So I want to be really careful with this. I want just the bottom because it looks darker. So have you kept count? How many layers of gray, dark gray, and now black have we put on the bottom? And I think there's a little something still going on right there. I might have put too much, but that's all right. We'll leave that there. And we'll continue the bottom. I think we've got maybe 5 layers on this. So this goes... So these aren't long like eyelashes. These are they're just there. So I have to be careful not to make them into eyelashes. And so if I follow the same rule that I derived from looking at the back, that means these feathers start from the top and work their way down. If we do the ends of the feathers, is that right? Nope. No, it's from the bottom up. There's a few feathers that are down here. Oh, but I want to make them narrower. So when I get my brush in the paint, I roll my brush, make sure I don't have too much on the tip. And now maybe I can pull up some lines. There we go. And not too many. Don't want to get too carried away. And no, I don't want to copy either. Some of these feathers get underneath the white ones. That's how they stick out down here. Again, with the story. So I'll go back. Make this edge not such a straight, flat edge. And I'll add my feathers along this edge. Okay, so you get the gist of this, I hope. You figured out what we're doing. We'll go back, we'll do the wings a little bit too on the outer edges. And I'm going to zoom ahead and let you see what was done. Well, in looking at our bird, it seems like it's just too black and white. So I think I'll get one more wash for the bird. A gray with just a little bit of a warm color, and that actually is what the original artist had done with hers, but she had done it earlier in the process. So let's see what we can mix up. Now this is supposed to be just a wash, so we'll use our gray and add a little bit of warm red to it. See what we can get from that. So take a little water, we'll pull a little gray out of that, put it over here. I think that's light enough. Pick up a little bit of this red in there. That's a little too red. Let's grab a little. Oh, that's warm. That's kind of just gently warm. Okay, and it kind of matches the picture. So how's that going to lay? A little more water just to be safe, just to be sure. Off here to this side. Okay, let's try that. I'll switch back over. Oh, so there he is. Now if I look at our sample, there is kind of a warm color here, and maybe that was on the original. I actually don't remember it. So we'll see if we can put that in. We'll leave this as white. It might be a little color in there. We'll see what we can do to soften this up a little bit. And this wash will soften some of these lines as well. So I'll put it on this side, maybe a little warmer. I don't want to take too much time because I certainly don't want to dissolve what's already there. All right. And what else? This side, we did put a little bit there earlier, and kind of up and through here. Just kind of tie it together here and there. Looks like there might have been just a little bit around. Oh, we'll just do this right under the eye. There. Oh, it's getting too dark. So get a tissue, see if we can pick some of that up. Okay. That's a problem with doing this wash after the black is already on. If you get it wet, it will run in together. So we want to try to avoid that. All right, let's see if I can work away from that. And I think we just have a few pulling down from here. I don't want it to make it too significant. Just tie it in a little. Okay. I already did that. All right. Well, oh, and then down here, just again, just to add a little shadow, we'll just drop this in and let it move and blend in. Well, I think I'm going to leave that where it's at. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this. I know I did. We did take our time. Well, actually, that's not true. I kind of hurried this. I think I would have gone a little slower. You could hopefully recognize that in the tree branch. But if we were to do this again, a second time, could you imagine what it would look like then? Or rather, if you go and find your own photo, or even better yet, you take your own photo and then take your time laying it out, planning it out, starting with lighter colors when you begin and layering up just to add the texture and so on, just to build your bird, or whatever you've taken your picture of. Who knows, you might even be able to paint a horse.